Welcome back. All right, so in talking about prospects today, we're at Matthew Savoie, and this is where things get tricky. So the draft combine was this week as well, and that seems to have thrown things into chaos in terms of who might go where. But again, there's a lot of chatter, there's a lot of discussion. How many scouts has it actually changed the minds of? We shall see. But Savoie is a highly skilled forward. He's projected as a center at the NHL level. He's played some wing as well, though, in juniors. He's 5'9", which is the one consideration here. Shorter players. And as we go through this draft class, there are some shorter players who may end up dropping in the draft, and that happens every year. We remember Cole Caulfield when he was picked up by Montreal. He dropped in the draft because of his size. DeBrincat, picked up by Chicago, dropped because of his size. GMs still seem to be likely to do that. If you have two similar forwards, two similar defensemen, and one's 4 inches taller than the other, you're going to go with the guy who's 4 inches taller. That certainly seems to be the case at the draft table. So 179 pounds, which is 81 kilos. And so, yeah, we'll see how things work out for him. He's number 5 on the consolidated rankings on Elite Prospects, the average between various sites. Elite Prospects themselves currently have him listed 9th. The Hockey Prospect book has him at 6th. And TSN / or I should say Hockey Prospects site has him at 6th. The book's not out yet. TSN / Bob McKenzie has him at 4th. And in the draft preview issue of the Hockey News, they have him at 8th. And what's interesting to me about them having him at 8th is that the player they have him right behind is somebody we're going to be talking about, Connor Geekie. They have Connor Geekie at 7th and Savoie at 8th. And I have a feeling why Geekie might be listed higher and why it's possible that Connor Geekie ends up going earlier in this draft than I've put up and that other people may be putting up as well. Although there are some draft lists I've seen Connor Geekie as high as 2nd. I've seen it. So the strengths for Matthew Savoie: passing, agility, teamwork, speed, puck handling. He's a very skilled forward. He has a high hockey IQ. Excellent skater. He thinks well in tough situations. And he was the WHL's rookie points leader. 65 games, 35 goals, 55 assists, 95 points for the Winnipeg Ice, who might have the nicest jersey in the Western Hockey League. Don't come at me. So, yeah, for Savoie, he went down to the USHL last year due to the limited schedule that the WHL had, and it seems to have worked out really well for him. He dominated for Dubuque, and now for the Winnipeg Ice, excellent season as well. So there is always that chance that he ends up being a steal in this draft because he's small, right? So he has the elite skill, but it's right in the reports. Size may cause him to drop. The size is an issue. For general managers, players that are 5'11" and shorter, they get a little antsy about, and again, those players do tend to end up dropping in the draft, which is how we end up looking back years later and saying, how did they get that guy there? That's ridiculous. And then you look at their height, and that may give you your answer. So he played on a line with Connor Geekie as well, and Geekie highly rated, and some lists have Geekie higher. Geekie is 6'4" and was playing center on that line while Savoie was on the right-hand side. So Savoie may be listed as a center. He could end up starting out in the NHL as a winger, which is not a big deal. We've seen that with plenty of good prospects coming up into the NHL. Sometimes it takes a while to learn how to play center at the NHL level. Maybe that'll be the case with Savoie. Now, with the 1 year in the WHL and with him being 5'9", odds are this is not a draft pick that you're going to take this year that plays next year in the NHL. I say in all likelihood, but you can never really tell. Every year there's usually a surprise from the draft class who makes that debut that first year after the draft, and then there's others that don't show up until year 2, year 3, if they show up. So it is an interesting conundrum here. If you're picking 5th, and if you have a choice between Savoie and Geekie, I totally understand why people would pick Geekie. If the skill set's similar, which it seems to be between the two, and Geekie's taller, even though Savoie has this ability offensively that if he can get that room in the NHL, and to me, you know, shorter wingers, I think back to like Cliff Ronning in Vancouver, what made him effective was he had Sandlak on one wing and Momesso on the other. He had big guys on the wings, and it somehow made him more effective as well. It seemed to give him more room out there. So maybe for Savoie, he could come up to the NHL level. Maybe he does play at center, and you give him a couple of big wingers who can clear things out for him a little bit, play that physical side of the game. Although, again, Savoie doesn't seem like the kind of player who's going to shy away from the tougher areas of the ice, and I don't think he's going to get bounced around either. But when do GMs say, all right, I'm going to take that guy even though he's shorter, and when are we going to get past that idea that just being taller necessarily means you're getting a better player? Again, when those skill sets are similar, it gets a little bit tough. And like I said, coming out of the combine this week, it said that this has led to complete chaos. But this draft class was seen as being very close anyways, that there's 3 or 4 who are, clearly at the top. Although the debate on who those 3 or 4 are is still out there again. For my money, it's Cooley, Slavkovsky, Wright. Put them in whatever order you want. But we'll see. We'll see if Savoie ends up moving up or moving down, and whether or not the Philadelphia Flyers would be likely to take him. Maybe the Flyers would be looking for a young defenseman like Jiricek. Maybe they move down. One thing that seems to be happening with this year's draft, even more it feels like than in other drafts, is the amount of speculation on teams moving. Teams moving the number 4 maybe for number 8, and then you get another pick, and just the idea of teams moving around in this draft to get the player they want. It is possible we see a bunch of trades at this year's draft. It's going to be a fascinating one, though. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you watched Savoie, what do you think his ceiling is? What do you think he's going to be doing at the NHL level? And let me know where you think he's going to go. Does he go 5? Does he go higher? Where does he go? And will his size lead to issues at the NHL level? Or is it just GMs? Is there going to be a GM who steps up at number 4 and says, we're going to take Savoie, we don't care? And would that be the genius move? Because again, if DeBrincat got taken sooner than expected, I don't think teams would have regretted that. And Caulfield has been a dynamic scorer at the NHL level thus far, despite the slow start he got off to this season. So let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.